Please tell us your story.
Okay, thank you for speaking with me. It was important that I spoke today because I wanted to honour my husband and let people know a little bit about the story, how we came to be in this position. He was a management consultant in the city for many years, and he, over time, just really felt like he wanted to do something more practical with his life. And he was such a people person. He wanted to do something he could care and be with people and help them that way. So he retrained to become a paramedic, which took quite a long time, longer than he expected. And then after that, he did a further degree, an MA, so that he could work as an emergency care practitioner within a hospital setting. And he was dealing with patients with minor injuries at East Surrey Hospital, which is where we ended up at the beginning of COVID. So what happened to him, we were all sent home beginning when it first started. And he was obviously in a position where he was going into work in the A&E department. At the time, not really knowing who had COVID and who didn't. There was no test to be able to tell. And he quickly caught COVID within those first few weeks. Once we knew, we all got it after him, but he struggled at home for about 10 days. And then eventually my eldest daughter, who also worked at the hospital, took him in over the weekend. And then shortly after that, we were told that he would have to be put on the ventilator. At the time, we were told that there was a 50-50 chance that he wouldn't survive it, but it never occurred to me that he would be the one that didn't. Yeah. And so for the next 30 days, we had a pretty torturous time just waiting for a phone call each day. We may or may not get a phone call. Didn't know if it would be good news, bad news. My daughter, my littlest daughter, who was 9 at the time, every time she heard the phone call, she'd run upstairs and hide. And then when she knew it was over, she'd come down and say, "Mummy, is there still hope?" Mm. And it was very difficult because I couldn't tell her lies. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was the unknown. Anyway, we were told that his heart had swelled to 3 times the size, almost like he was running multiple marathons every day, the amount of effort he was putting in to try and fight it off. But he sadly lost the fight on his 52nd birthday, which was the most traumatic experience of all of our lives. Not just for us as his family, but all of his colleagues. It had been a terrible situation for them to try and struggle to help him. The whole hospital staff, it sent shockwaves around the hospital, and I was concerned that it was going to be a very demoralising thing for all of them as well. Yeah. And so his death has been the most far-reaching, can't think of the word.
Just incredibly.
Yeah, I think for the whole community. Exactly. Yeah, he was such a giving, selfless person. He would spend his days off taking our dog, who was a pet dog, a pets therapy dog, and so he would go into the local psychiatric hospital as well and into East Surrey on his days off. He'd go into the schools to take his ambulance in for school fairs. So it had a big impact on the whole community, his work colleagues, and also for us as a family. I think shortly after that, and in the background, I didn't realise that a family friend of ours, whose son goes to Reigate Grammar School, she had contacted the head of the foundation and alerted him to our situation, our story. And I was contacted by him a few weeks after the funeral, I think. And it was just the most amazing thing at the time. It was the thing that kind of brought a little spark of hope, I think, for us. Before that, my husband and I had been really concerned about where we were going to send our daughter to school, for her secondary school. And it felt to me like this was something he'd almost managed to arrange while he was on the ventilator. I think he put so much struggle and effort into trying to stay with us all. And I know that would have been his biggest worry and concern for her. So that was the most amazing thing. I couldn't believe it when we were offered a bursary place for her. She was so chuffed at the time. I think she felt like she'd almost been forgotten by the world.
Okay.
I could see a little bit of light come into her life point because she felt special and she was so excited to know that she had some hope, something to look forward to in her life.
How is your daughter getting on now?
She seems to be thriving. It's early days for her in the grief process. She's been very closed off, understandably, because it's such a huge trauma and shock we've been through. But I feel that this was like the safety net that caught us as a family, and particularly for her, that she's a system around her, a school around her that I know will look after her, all her needs, not just educationally. And I think that was one of the things I just wanted to make sure for her, that she'll have pastoral help and all of those areas. I know that there will be that support for her that she definitely wouldn't have got anywhere else. And that's what I'm so grateful for. I think I was under a huge burden when it first happened, and since the years since, feeling that huge responsibility as a single mother now, having to go and find a way of keeping us afloat financially when my husband had been the main earner. And so this has been one of those areas, despite me being spread very thin sometimes, I know that she's been scooped up by a school that will offer her transport, look after her. She's absolutely adored getting involved in the drama productions here. She loves her sport, that she'd never had that opportunity before. So she's playing netball and hockey and tennis. And so I would say she is thriving, and she really feels so privileged herself. The other day, we were talking about her feeling pressured, and she just looked at me and saying, I can't imagine going to school anywhere else. So I'd like to say the most heartfelt, enormous thank you. As a family, we are so grateful for this bursary that my daughter Eliana has been given. It has made so much difference to our lives. I think we would have completely sunk if it hadn't happened. All those generous benefactors, thank you so much. Really has changed our lives. Having gone through this, we've all realised as a family how important we all are as family and friends and those around us to look after each other, and that anything can just suddenly come out of the blue and change that. And so the privilege of being able to give, the privilege of being able to help another family in such circumstances is an incredible thing. And I would just encourage everybody, if you can, you've got a bit extra, to give it.